Yeah.
Ram, 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 Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Yes,
Hare.
Krishna Chaitanya.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Yes,
Hare Hare.
Krishna.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Ram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, 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 Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, 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 Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Devi. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Ram.
Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Yeah, we'll start in 2 minutes. Just let me complete this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Yeah, thank you very much for joining today. Let us begin with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukhaṁ karoti vācālam pangum langhayate girim yatprapātamaham vande Shri Gurum Dīnatāriram Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyameshwaram. Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastangatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhyabhyantaram sachihi. Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. We are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter 3, a saintly person. That's what it is, right? So, a very nice saintly person. Thank you, Mataji, Deepa Mataji, for running call yesterday. So please start with yourself.
Prabhuji, I still can't see the screen.
No, you are not able to see.
No, Prabhuji. It says that you started.
No, Prabhu, it's rotating. Sri
Still.
Giriraj Das Prabhuji started screen sharing rotating.
Oh, just give me a minute. It's still loading.
Yes, Prabhuji, I can see.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Chaitanya did not advent himself to liberate only a few men of India. Rather, his main objective was to emancipate all living entities of all countries throughout the entire universe and preach the eternal religion. Lord Chaitanya says in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, in every town, country, and village, my name will be sung. There is no doubt that this unquestionable order will come to pass. Although there is still no pure society of Vaishnavas to be had, yet Lord Chaitanya's prophetic words will in a few days come true, I am sure. Why not? Nothing is absolutely pure in the beginning. From imperfection, purity will come about. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German, and American people will take up banners, mridangas, and kartals and raise kirtan through their streets and towns. When will that day come? As a prominent magistrate, Bhaktivinoda Thakura was a responsible government officer. He served also as superintendent of the temple of Lord Jagannath and was the father of 10 children. Yet, in spite of these responsibilities, he served the cause of Krishna with prodigious energy. After coming home from his office in the evening, taking his meals, and going to bed, he would sleep from 8 until midnight and then get up and write until morning. He wrote more than 100 books during his life, many of them in English. One of his important contributions with the cooperation of Jagannath Das Babaji and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was to locate the exact birthplace of Lord Chaitanya in Mayapur, about 60 miles north of Calcutta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Samyukta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
While working to reform Gaudiya Vaishnavism in India, he prayed to Lord Chaitanya, "Your teachings have been much depreciated. It is not in my power to restore them." And he prayed for a son to help him in his preaching. When on February 6, 1874, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was born to Bhakti Vinod Thakura in Jagannath Puri, the Vaishnavas considered him the answer to his father's prayers. He was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck and draped across his chest like the sacred thread worn by Brahmanas. His parents gave him the name Bimala, Bimala Prasada. When Bimala Prasada was 6 months old, the carts of Jagannath festival stopped at the gate of Bhakti Vinoda's residence and for 3 days could not be moved. Bhakti Vinod Thakura's wife brought the infant onto the cart and approached the deity of Lord Jagannatha. Spontaneously, the infant extended his arms and touched the feet of Lord Jagannatha and was immediately blessed with a garland that fell from the body of the Lord. When Bhaktivinoda Thakura learned that the Lord's garland had fallen onto his son, he realized that this was the son for whom he had prayed.
Read this one.
Yes, Prabhuji. One day, when Bimala Prasada was still a child of no more than 4 years, his father mildly rebuked him for eating a mango, not yet duly offered to Lord Krishna. Bimala Prasada, although only a child, considered himself an offender to the Lord and vowed never to eat mangoes again. This was a vow that he would follow throughout his life. By the time Bimala Prasada was 7 years old, he had memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita and could even explain its verses. His father then began training him in proofreading and printing. In conjunction with the publishing of the Vaishnava magazine Sajjana Toshani. With his father, he visited many holy places and heard discourses from the learned Panditas. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Sandhya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. As a student, Bimala Prasada preferred to read the books written by his father instead of the school text. By the time he was 25, he had become well versed in Sanskrit, mathematics, and astronomy, and he had established himself as the author and publisher of many magazines, articles, and one book, Surya Siddhanta, for which he received the epithet Siddhanta Saraswati in recognition of his erudition. When he was 26, his father guided him to take initiation from a pronounced Vaishnava saint, Gaura Kishora Dasa Babaji, who advised him to preach the absolute truth and keep aside all the works. Receiving the blessings of Gaura Kishora Dasa Babaji, Bimla Prasada, now Siddhanta Saraswati, resolved to dedicate his body, mind, and words to the service of Lord Krishna.
Continue.
In 1905, Siddhanta Saraswati took a oath to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra a billion times. Residing in Mayapur, in a grass hut near the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, he chanted the Hare Krishna mantra day and night. He cooked rice once a day in an earthen pot and ate nothing more. He slept on the ground, and when the rainwater leaked through the grass ceiling, he sat beneath an umbrella chanting.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, that's
Radhika Mataji in reading mode, hearing mode. Lavanya, are you able to read?
In 1911, while his aging father was lying ill, Siddhanta Saraswati took up a challenge against pseudo-Vaishnavas who claimed that birth in their caste was the prerequisite for preaching Krishna consciousness. The caste conscious Brahmana community had become incensed by Bhaktivinoda Thakure's presentation of many scriptural proofs that anyone regardless of birth could become a Brahmana Vaishnava. These Smartha Brahmanas out to prove the inferiority of the Vaishnavas arranged a discussion. On behalf of his indisposed father, young Siddhanta Saraswati wrote an essay, The Conclusive Difference Between the Brahmana and the Vaishnava, and submitted it before his father. Despite his poor health, Bhaktivinoda Tagore was elated to hear the arguments that would soundly defeat the challenge of the Smartas.
Continue, yeah.
Siddhanta Saraswati then traveled to Midnapur, where Panditas from all over India had gathered for a 3-day discussion. Some of the Smarta Panditas who spoke first claimed that anyone born in a Shudra family, even though initiated by a spiritual master, could never become purified and perform the Brahmanical duties of worshipping the deities or initiating disciples. Finally, Siddhanta Saraswati delivered his speech. He began quoting Vedic references glorifying the Brahmanas, and this the Smarta scholars become very much pleased. But when he began discussing the actual qualifications for becoming a Brahmana, the qualities of the Vaishnavas, the relationship between the two, and who, according to the Vedic culture, is qualified to become a spiritual master and initiate disciple, then the joy of the Vaishnava haters disappeared. Siddhanta Saraswati conclusively proved from the scripture that if one is born in a Shudra, if one is born in a Shudra but exhibit the qualities of a Brahmana, then he should be honored as a Brahmana, despite his birth. And if one is born in a Brahmana family but acts like a Shudra, then he is not a Brahmana. After his speech, Siddhanta Saraswati was congratulated by the president of the conference, and thousands thronged around him. It was a victory for Vaishnavism. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Rajaprabhu also in hearing mode. Where is there? Kinchan Prabhu, you can read. Yeah. Kinchan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes.
Yeah. Next to Gaurav Prabhu. And then next to Lalit Mohan Prabhu. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Prabhu. With the passing.
With the passing away of his father, in 1914 and his spiritual master in 1915. Siddhanta Saraswati continued the mission of Lord Chaitanya. He assumed editorship of Sajjana Toshni and established the Bhagavad Press in Krishnanagar. Then in 1918 in Mayapur, he sat down before a picture of Gaurakishore Das Babaji and initiated himself into the sannyasa order. At this time, he assumed the sannyasa title Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was dedicated to using the printing press as the best medium of large-scale distribution of Krishna consciousness. He thought of printing press as a Brihad Mridanga, a big Mridanga, although the Mridanga drum had traditionally been used to accompany Kirtan even during the time of Lord Chaitanya, and although Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati himself led Kirtan parties and sent the groups to devotees chanting in the street and playing on the mridanga, such Kirtans could be heard only for a block or two. But with the Brihad Mridanga, the big Mridanga drum of printing press, the message of Lord Chaitanya could be spread all over the world.
You can read one more.
Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, you can read this one also.
Most of the literature Abhay began reading had been printed on Bhagavad Press, where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was established in 1915. The Bhagavad Press had printed the Chaitanya Charitamrita with commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the Bhagavad Gita with commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti, and one after another. The works of the Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This literature was spiritual heritage coming from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had appeared almost 500 years before.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Gaurav Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Abhay had been a devotee of Lord Chaitanya since childhood, and he was familiar with the life of Lord Chaitanya through the well-known scriptures Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavata. He had learned of Lord Chaitanya not only as the most ecstatic form of a pure devotee who had spread the chanting of a holy name to all parts of India, but also as the direct appearance of Sri Krishna himself in the form of Radha and Krishna combined. But now, for the first time, Abhay was in touch with the great wealth of literature compiled by the Lord's immediate associate and followers, passed down in a disciplined succession and expanded on by great authorities. Lord Chaitanya's immediate followers, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, and others had compiled many volumes based on Vedic scriptures and proving conclusively that Lord Chaitanya's teaching were the essence of a Vedic wisdom. There were many books not yet published, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was intent on establishing many presses just to release the sound of the Bharat Mridanga for the benefit of the people. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was teaching the conclusion of Lord Chaitanya's teaching. The Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the chanting of his holy name should be stressed upon all other religion practices. In former ages, other methods of attaining to God had been available, but in the present age of Kali, only the chanting of Hare Krishna would be effective. On the authority of the scriptures, such as Brahmana Naradya Puran, Naradya Puran, and the Upanishad, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur had specifically cited Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare. Lord Krishna himself had confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the only method of attaining him was devotional service. Abandon all varieties of Krishna, of religion, and just surrender unto him. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
You can come to this one.
Okay, sure, Prabhuji. Abhay knew these verses. He knew the chanting and he knew the conclusion of the Gita. But now, as he eagerly read the writing of the great acharyas, he had fresh realization of the scope of Lord Chaitanya's mission. Now he was discovering the depth of his own Vaishnava heritage and efficacy for bringing about the highest welfare of people in an age of destined to be full of troubles. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you very much. Lalit Mohan Prabhuji.
Srila Bhakti Siddhanta was often traveling, and Abhay was busy with his family and business. So to arrange another meeting was not possible. Yet, from their first encounter, Abhay has considered Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati his spiritual master. And Abhay began thinking of him always. I have met such a nice, saintly person. Whenever possible, Abhay would seek out Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's disciples, the members of Gaudiya Math. As for the Gandhi's movement,
Yeah, go ahead.
as for the Gandhi's movement, Gandhi has suffered bitter setback when his non-violent followers had blundered and committed violence during a protest. The British had taken the opportunity to arrest Gandhi and sentence him to 6 years in jail, although his followers still revered him. The nationalist movement had lost much of its impetus. But regardless of that, Abhay was no longer interested. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had defeated his idea that the nationalistic cause was India's first priority. He had invoked Abhay's original Krishna consciousness, and Abhay now felt confident that Bhakti Siddhanta's mission was the real priority. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta had invited him to preach, and from that moment, Abhay had wanted to join the Gaudiya Math as one of the Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's disciples. But now, instead of his political inclinations, it was his family obligations that stood in the way. He was no longer thinking, first let us become an independent nation, then preach about Lord. Now he was thinking, I cannot take part like others. I have my family responsibilities.
Yes, Lord. Let me read.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And the family was growing. In 1921, Abhay and his wife had their first child, a son, and there would be more children and more income would be needed. Earning money meant sacrificing time and energy, and it meant, at least externally, being distracted from the mission of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Indian culture had the highest regard for the family institution, and divorce was unheard of. Even if a man was in great financial difficulty, he would remain with his wife and children. Although Abhay expressed regret at not being a sannyasi disciple in the Gaudiya Math, he never seriously considered leaving his young wife so early in their marriage. Gormohan was pleased to hear of his son's attraction to a Vaishnava guru, but he never expected Abhay to abandon responsibilities and enter the renounced order. A Vaishnava could remain with wife and family, practice spiritual life at home, and even become active in preaching. Abhay would have to find ways to serve the mission of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati as a family man. Abhay thought that if he were to become very successful in business, then he could spend money not only to support his family, but also to help support Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. In astrologer had even predicted that Abhay would become one of the wealthiest men in India. But with his present income, he could do little more than provide for his family's needs. He thought he might do better by trying to develop a business on his own. Abhay expressed his feelings to Dr. Bose, who listened like a sympathetic father and suggested that Abhay become his agent for all of northern India. Abhay could purchase medicines, liniments, rectified spirits, toothpaste, and other items wholesale from Dr. Bose factory and travel widely throughout the northern India, building up his own business. Also, Abhay had enough experience with Bose laboratory that he could try to make and market some of his own medicines and products. Dr. Bose and Abhay decided that the centrally located city of Allahabad would be a good place for Abhay to make his headquarters. Very well. Let us one more time read one more round. Deepa Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. In 1923, Abhay and his wife and child moved to Allahabad, a 12-hour train ride northwest from Calcutta. The British had once made Allahabad the capital of United Provinces, and they had built many good buildings there, including buildings for a high court and a university. Europeans and affluent Indian families like the Nehrus lived in a modern paved, well-lit section of town. There was also another older section with ancient narrow streets closely lined with buildings and shops. Many Bengalis resided here, and it was there that Abhay decided to settle his family. He had chosen Allahabad, traditionally known as Prayaga, as a good location for business, but it was also one of India's most famous places of pilgrimage. Situated at the confluence of the three holiest rivers of India, the Ganges, the Yamuna, and the Saraswati, Allahabad was the site of two of India's most widely attended spiritual events, the annual Magha Mela and the Kumbh Mela, which took place every 12 years. And in search of spiritual purification, millions of pilgrims from all over India would converge here each year at the time of the full moon in the month of Magha, January, and bathe at the junction of the three sacred rivers. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Samyukta Mataji.
Abhay's home at 60, Badshahi Mandi, consisted of a few rented rooms. For his business, he rented a small shop in the commercial center of the city at Johnston Gang Road, where he opened his dispensary, Prayag Pharmacy, and began selling medicines, tinctures, syrups, and other products manufactured by Bose Laboratory. He met an Allahabad physician, Dr. Ghosh, who was interested in a business partnership. So Abhay asked him to become his attending physician and move his office to Prayag Pharmacy. Dr. Ghosh consented and closed his own shop, Tropical Pharmacy. At Prayag Pharmacy, Dr. Ghosh would diagnose patients and give medical prescriptions, which Abhay would fill. Dr. Ghosh would then receive a 25% commission from the sale of the prescriptions. Abhay and Dr. Ghosh became friends. They would visit at each other's homes and they treated each other's children like their own family members. Often they discussed their aspirations for increasing profits. Dr. Ghosh, Abhay was a business-minded man. We were all God-fearing, of course. In every home, we have a small temple and we must have deities. But he used to always talk about business and how to meet family expenses.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Sandhya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Although at home, Abhay wore a kurta and dhoti, sometimes for business, he would dress in shirt and pants. He was a good-looking, full mustached, energetic young man in his late. He and Radharani Di now had two children. A daughter was born after they had been in Allahabad for 1 year. Gaur Mohan, who was now 75, had come to live with him, as had Abhay's widowed sister Rajeshwari and her son Tulasi. Gaur Mohan mostly stayed at home, chanted on his beads, and worshipped the Shaligrama Shila deity of Krishna. He was satisfied that Abhay was doing right, and Abhay was satisfied to have his father living comfortably with him and freely worshipping Krishna. Abhay led a busy life. He was intent on building his business. By 8 a.m., he would go to his pharmacy, where he would meet Dr. Ghosh and begin his day's work. At noon, he would come home and then he would return to the pharmacy in the late afternoon. He had purchased a large wig for 8,000 rupees, and although he never drove it himself, he let his nephew, a good driver, use it for his taxi business. Occasionally, Abhay would use the car on his own business excursions, and his nephew would then act as his chauffeur.
Okay, Mataji. What is the meaning? Even I don't know. What is a chauffeur?
Chauffeur to hai.
Chauffeur Prabhuji, driver.
A person employed. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Yes. So, Lavanya, you can read. Radhika Mataji, you can read this. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. It so happened that both Motilal Nehru and his son Jawaharlal Nehru were customers at Prayag Pharmacy. Because Jawaharlal, just a second. Yeah, it is so happened that both Motilal Nehru and his son Jawaharlal Nehru were customers at Prayag Pharmacy. Because Jawaharlal Nehru would always order Western medicines, Abhay thought he must have felt that Indian ways were inferior. Once Jawaharlal Nehru approached Abhay for a political contribution and Abhay donated, being a conscientious merchant. During the day, Abhay would talk with his customers and other friends who would stop by, and they would tell him many things. A former military officer used to tell Abhay stories of World War I. He told how Marshal Foch in France had one day ordered the killing of thousands of Belgian refugees whose maintenance had become a burden to him on the battlefield. A Muhammad, Muhammadan gentleman, a member of a royal family in Afghanistan would come daily with his son to sit and chat. Abhay would listen to his visitors and converse pleasantly and make up their prescriptions. But his thoughts kept returning to his meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He went over it again and again in his mind, how he had looked, his mannerisms, and what he had said. At
Complete.
night, Abhay would go home to his wife. This is the last one, right?
No, that is one scene in that. Yeah.
Can I continue?
And complete it.
At night, Abhay would go home to his wife and children. Radharani was a chaste and faithful wife who spent her days cooking, cleaning, and caring for her two children. But she was not inclined to share her husband's interest in things spiritual. He could not convey to her his feeling about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Yeah. No, another section. Yeah. Akinja Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Abhay and his wife, their two children, Gaur Mohan, Abhay's younger brother, Krishna Charan, Abhay's widowed sister, Rajeshwari, and her son, Tulsidas, all went together to an Allahabad studio for a family portrait. The photo shows Abhay in his late 20s. He is thin and dark when with a full mustache. His forehead is broad, his eyes dark and clear. He wears a white kurta and dhoti and plain dark slippers. He sits in the chair, his wife standing behind him, an attractive young woman in a white khadi sari with a line of color on the border. Her slim arm rests behind Abhay's head on the back of his chair, her small hand gripping the edge of the chair. Her left hand hangs by her side, gripped in the face. She is barefoot with a left hand, barefoot, sorry. With his left hand, Abhay studies his 2-year-old boy, Pacha, Prayagraj, a glaring infant on his lap, the boy seeming to scream. His baby legs and bare feet dazzling by the mother's knee. Abhay seems a bit amused by the son on his lap. Abhay is a handsome Indian man. His wife was an attractive woman, both young. Also behind Abhay stands his nephew Tulsi and his brother Krishna Charan. Sitting on the far right is Abhay's sister Rajeshwari, dressed in the widow's white sari, holding Sulakshamana, Abhay's daughter. On her lap, Sulakshamana is also squirming, her foot jutting towards the photographer. In the center sits the Gaur Mohan. His face is shriveled, and his whole body was emaciated with age. He is also wearing a white kurta and dhoti. His hand seems to be moving actively on his lap, perhaps with palsy. He is short and small and old.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
bro.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Gaurav Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Abhay
Krishna.
traveled frequently throughout northern India, intent to expanding his sales. It was not unusual for him to be gone a few days in a week, and sometimes a week or more at a time, as he traveled from one city to another. The pharmaceutical industry was just a beginning in India, and the doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies were eager to buy from the competent, gentlemanly agent who called on them from Bose Laboratory of Calcutta. He would travel by train and stay in hotels. He liked the feeling of freedom from home that traveling afforded, but now real drive was servicing accounts and getting new ones. That was his business. Riding in the third class unreserved compartment was often uncomfortable. The only seats was benches, which was often dirty, and passengers were permitted to crowd on without reservations. But this is but that is how Abhay traveled hundreds of miles every week. As the trains moved between towns, he would see the numberless small villages and then country land that spread out before him on either side of the tracks. At every stop, he would hear the cries of the tree vendors as they walked alongside the train windows. Chai, chai, tea. The British had introduced it, and now millions of Indians were convinced that they could get through the morning without their little glass of hot tea. They could not get through the morning without their little glass of hot tea. As restricted Vaishnava, Abhay never touched it, but his wife, much to his displeasure, was becoming a regular tea drinker. Hare
Very well.
Krishna.
Tea, there is one statement. Prabhupada says, tea or me? She said tea. And Prabhupada left for the benefit of all of us. Tea or me. Very well. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Lalitam Prabhu, please read.
Although Abhay was accustomed to dressing as a European businessman, he never compromised his strict Vaishnava principles. Most of his fellow Bengalis had taken up fish eating, but Abhay was always careful to avoid non-Vaishnava foods, even at hotels. Once a vegetarian hotel, the Empire Hindu Hotel in Bombay, he was served onions, and sometimes the hotel people tried to serve him mushrooms, garlic, and even eggs. But all of these he carefully avoided. Keeping a small semblance of his home routine, he would take his bath early in the morning with cold water. He followed this routine year round, and when in Saharanpur, he did so during the bitter cold weather. The hotel keeper was greatly surprised. Thank you, Paul.
Very good. Good job. Yeah. Read this one.
Who, Prabhu?
Yeah, read this one.
Achha. Abhay conversed with many people in his travels. A doctor in Dhaka, told him that on his way to the office, he has passed a farmer talking to a friend and could tell by the sound of the farmer's cough that the farmer would die within a few hours. Another doctor told Abhay that he had just come from seeing a pneumonia patient who was defying nature and medical science by continuing to live. He met a Mohammedan doctor in Gaya who lamented that he had just lost a patient, although he had given although he had given the man the very best medicine. Such accounts from men of the medical profession confirmed Abhay's conviction that without God's sanction, no one could be saved. Not that he ever thought of his medical sales a philanthropic work. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had already convinced him that the only way to save a person was by giving him Krishna consciousness. Abhay's medical products were strictly for business. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Let me read this too. On one business trip, it was in 1925, he traveled through Agra, only 40 miles south of Vrindavana. Taking the opportunity, he made his first visit to holy Vrindavana, fulfilling his childhood aspiration. He loved the sight of Vrindavana, but he could spend only a day or two. Even a single day away from his sales work could be critical. As a reverend pilgrim, Abhay visited a few temples, especially the principal temples established by the followers of Lord Chaitanya. But he had to move on. There were also risks in traveling. Once he was sitting in a train compartment in Madras station when a monkey suddenly entered and took away his belongings early one morning before dawn, while he was on his way to Kanpur in a two-wheeled horse carriage. The horse was going at fast trot when suddenly it hit a large heap of rubbish in the middle of the road. The carriage turned upside down. Horse, driver, and the carriage all landed in a heap, and Abhay was thrown into the air. But he landed unharmed, feeling as though he had just changed to another seat. Because Abhay sat but said nothing. The driver thought he had been knocked unconscious and became anxious. The passenger was all right, however, and the driver considered it a miracle, since the cart had so violently ejected him. Abhay took it that he had been saved by Krishna, and he remembered similar incidents starting with his childhood when his clothing had caught on fire. Krishna had always protected him. Thank you. So, Vani Mata, since you joined, you read these three Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Are you
Vani
asking me, Prabhuji?
Vani Mataji, I'm asking. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, you read this, Dandavat Pranam. You read this and we can go to verse practice. Pranam mantra. Okay.
For 5 years, Prabhuji Chaitanya Charitamrita chadvedi.
Kaga, see, Prabhupada.
Lilamrita, okay. Because I remember reading all this. Okay, I'm reading at home, Prabhuji. Okay, I'll read. For 5 years, Abhay traveled widely out of Allahabad, and when he was home, he put in long hours at the dispensary, but he also spent time with his wife and played with his children. Srila Prabhupada, when my son was about 2 years old, he was very naughty, always doing some mischief. My friends used to visit me and call my son, Pacha, Pacha. If you sit down for 1 minute silently, I will give you a gift. But the boy failed. He could not sit down even for a minute. There was a table fan and Pacha was wanting to touch it. I said, no, don't touch. But again, he tried to touch it. So my friend said, just lower the speed and let him touch it. So I unplugged the fan and then he touched it. It did not harm him, but it hit his finger with a loud noise. Tongue. And then he would not touch again. I would ask him touch again, but he would not. As soon as his daughter Sulakshmana could speak, he began teaching her the Bengali translation of the prayer Guru Ashtakam, which begins, the spiritual master is receiving benedictions from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it, the spiritual master extinguishes the blazing fire of material life, of repeated birth and death.
This one.
Should I continue, Prabhuji?
This is done. One scene. This is done. You can read.
Okay. Except for his obligatory travels, Abhay stayed at home and satisfied his family. He tended diligently to his business and it prospered.
Thank you so much, Madhuri. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Prabhuji, in Kunchame only, I think we can finish the chapter.
Oh, no?
Emo Mari. Okay, Prabhuji.
We'll go tomorrow. Thank you so much for reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So now we go to Pranam mantras. Let me share the screen. Okay. Yeah. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. So we'll go to Gaur Kishordas Pranati. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you. Srila Gaur Kishora Pranati. Namo Gaur Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye. Please repeat.
Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya
Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye.
Namo
Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye.
Namo
Kishoraya Sakshat
Vairagyamurtaye.
Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye.
Namo
Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye.
Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
विप्रलम्बार सम्भोदे पादाम्बुजायते नमः
Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
विप्रलम्बार सम्भोदे पादाम्बुजायते नमः
Everyone who is available and who can be ready, please do it by unmuting yourself. Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
नमो
Gaura-Kishoraya Sakshat Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
नमो
Gaura-Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
Namo
Gaura-Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha.
Now, any of the three devotees, they can one by one recite the translation. Okay, please read the translation first.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, the spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who is renunciation personified. He is always merged in the feeling of separation and intense love of Krishna.
Okay, yes, two more devotees.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, the spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, whose renunciation personified. He is always merged in a feeling of separation and intense love of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, one more devotee.
I offer my respect.
Yeah, both stop now.
Yeah, continue, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaja, the spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who is renunciation personified. He is always merged in a feeling of separation and intense love of Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So what does this line mean? Namo Gaura Kishoraya means Namaste to Gaura Kishoraya. Sakshat Vairagyamurti means he is renunciation personified. He's always that is why he's always called as Vairagis. Okay. Vipralamba and Rasambodhi. Vipralamba means always in the feeling of separation. Yeah. And Rasambodhi means always in the mellows of Krishna, love of Krishna. Padambhujayate Namaha means I am giving a Namaha to your Padambhuja, at your lotus feet. Let me pray my obeisances at your lotus feet. This is what this means. Okay. Now you can go for an individual.
नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भारसाम्भोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः। हरे कृष्ण।
नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्भोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी। श्रील गौरकिशोर प्रणति। नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भारसाम्भोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः। Thank you.
Lavanya Mataji.
नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्भोधे पदाम्बुजाय ते नमः।
Yes, Mataji. और वाणी Mataji.
ప్రభుజీ
Hare Krishna.
ఒకసారి
Yes,
హరా
ma'am.
ఎక్కడ లేదు నేను. ఓకే ఓకే ఇక్కడ దొరికింది. కోర కిషోర్ కిషోర ప్రణతి ఇదేనా ప్రభుజీ? శ్రీల
Yes,
గౌర
Mataji. అదే Mataji.
కిషోరాయ సాక్షాత్ వైరాగ్యమూర్తయే విప్రలంభరసాంబోధే పదాంభోజేన తే నమః.
पादाम्बुजायते नमः.
పాదాంభోజయతే నమః.
भुजायते नमः.
భుజాయతే నమః. మళ్ళీ
సో ఒకసారి మళ్ళీ చేయండి Mataji.
ఓకే. నమో గౌరకిశోరాయ సాక్షాద్ వైరాగ్యమూర్తయే విప్రలంబరసాంబోధే పాదాంభోజాయ నమః.
Yes, Mataji. Akinchen Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Shri Gaurakishore Pranati. Namo Gaurakishoraya Sakshatya Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Padambujayate Namaha.
ప్రభు ఒక్కసారి మళ్ళీ చదవండి ప్రభు. సెకండ్ లైన్ కొంచెం తేడా వచ్చింది.
नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्भोधे पदाम्बुजायते नमः.
पादाम्बुजायते नमः.
पादाम्बुजायते नमः.
यस प्रभु जी. अपना गिरिराज प्रभु एंड रामिरेड्डी प्रभु.
Yeah, I will look. Very good, Prabhu. Shila Pranati. Namo Gaurakishoraya Sakshad Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambhana Rasambodhe Padambujayate Namaha.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Namo Gaurakishoraya Sakshad Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha. Thank you.
Haribol. So, shall we go to the Bhakti? Sorry, apna Gaurakishore Das Babaji's. Sorry, not Gaurakishore Das Babaji. Prabhuji, the next prayer also we will go to.
Yeah, we'll do that. Bhaktivinoda Pranati, yes.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur. No, not Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The other one. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we have conducted a speech. Jagannath Das Babaji's marriage. Yeah, Jagannath Das Babaji's Pranati. Shall we go ahead with the new shloka or shall we practice all the three shlokas which we have learned till now? What do you say?
No, Bhaktivinoda అయిపోయిందా ప్రభు?
నిన్న అయిపోయింది ప్రభు.
అచ్చా, ఈ సీక్వెన్స్ ఇట్లా
యాక్చువల్లీ మర్చిపోయి పైది చూడలేదు ప్రభు, కింద ఒక్కటే కనపడింది నా కళ్ళకి.
బ్యాక్ సైడ్ నుండి వస్తున్నారా ప్రభుజీ?
అర్రే కాదు మాతాజీ
Back,
అంటే ఒక్కరోజు
back,
మొత్తం ఉల్టా పుల్టా అయిపోయింది మాతాజీ.
back. No, no, this is a sequence
నిన్న
proper.
బై మిస్టేక్ ఫస్ట్ భక్తి వినోద్ ప్రణతి చేసాం ప్రభుజీ, పైనది అయిపోయింది అనుకుని. దెన్ వి రియలైజ్ దట్ వి డి నాట్ డూ, అందుకనే ఇవాళ అది చేసాము.
ఈ మామే ఉల్టా అయిందని అది. That's not
Ah.
No, no.
sequence.
ఒక రోజు అది
what we do
ఉల్టా
now
అయింది.
is
You can go to the next
we will
page.
Yeah, we are all
since-
together. Let us do once all these prayers.
yes bro, that is my
Bhakti
wish.
Siddhanta Saraswati, Thakur,
Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Okay,
all
all
do.
the three.
Let us do. Chala.
Shall we all do together, or let me do one song? You will what will be the
మీరు ఒకసారి
First
చేయండి
you do
Yeah, you can do
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
You
మీరు
can
ఒకసారి
do.
చేయండి. Then all
Okay.
they hear and they
all together? Okay, then we will do all together once.
together గా మీరు ఒకరు చేయండి ప్రభుజీ. వీళ్ళు వింటారు. Then they can do. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Babaji. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojjwala Premadhya श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगविरुद्धापसिद्धान्तद्वान्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्बोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगावराय ते. Shall we all go together now, or how will we lead? How will we go ahead?
Individual.
Individual. Okay, one by one. Please go ahead.
नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवार्षभानवी देवी दयिताय कृपाब्धये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वलप्रेमाध्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोऽस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगाविरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तध्वान्तकारिणे श्रीला गौरकिशोरदास बाबाजी प्रणति नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भरसाम्भोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगवराय ते. हरे कृष्ण.
Thank you, Mataji. So quickly, you help yourself, one after other. Next, yeah.
नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवार्षभानवी देवी दयिताया कृपाब्धये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वलप्रेमाध्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौराकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोऽस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगविरुद्धापसिद्धान्त द्वान्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्भोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगवरायते. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Sandhya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Pranati. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Srivashabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojjwala Premadhya Shrirupanuga Bhaktidha Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarini Rupanuga Viruttapasiddhanta Navantaharini Namo Gaura Kishoraya Prabhuji tune.
Namo Gaura Kishoraya.
Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambhode Padam Bhujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate.
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you for this.
Lavanya Mataji.
Prabhuji, I'll do at the end, Prabhu.
Okay, Mataji. Vani Mataji. Hare Krishna. Okay, Ramireddy Prabhu.
Prabhuji, ఒక్క నిమిషం ఆగండి. Wait, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Okay. Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Pranati. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Iti Namine Shri Vishabhanave Devi Daitaya Kripadhaye Krishna Sambandha Vikyana Daine Prabhave Namaha.
First line ఒక్కసారి చదవండి మాతాజీ. శ్రీవార్షభానవి దేవి.
Srivashave Bhanave Devi.
Varshabhanavi.
Vashabhanavi.
Bhakti Siddhanta other name it is. Okay.
In Prabhuji?
ఆయన వేరే పేరు మాతాజీ. వార్షభానవి దేవి అని కూడా పిలుస్తారు.
Okay.
వార్షభానవి అని పిలుస్తారు అన్నమాట ఆయన. సో
Srivashave Bhanave Devi Daitaye Kripadhaye Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Daine Prabhave Namaha. Madhuryojjwala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapasiddhanta Bhataharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vigraya Murtaye Vipralambha Rasambhode Padam Pujayate Namaha.
ఒక్కసారి మాతాజీ అది సెకండ్ లైన్ థర్డ్ లైన్ తేడా వచ్చింది. ఒకసారి నేను చదువుతాను, మళ్ళీ చదవండి. నమో గౌర కిశోరాయ సాక్షాద్ వైరాగ్యమూర్తయే విప్రలంబార సాంబోధే పాదాంబుజాయతే నమః.
Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vigraya Murtaye.
వైరాగ్య
यं साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बरसम्बोधे पदां भोजयते नमः.
Yes, Mataji. Next one.
Last
Bhakti
good.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
नमो भक्तोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगवराय.
Yes, Mataji. Okay.
Prabhuji, excuse me because I am doing every day this thing without even properly listening to the tune and all. I'm always busy in the kitchen, Prabhuji. Please forgive me for my.
No. Come, attend daily, Mataji. That's it.
Attend అవుతున్నాను కానీ 100% attention ఉండట్లేదు ప్రభుజీ, అది ప్రాబ్లం.
పర్వాలేదు మాతాజీ, పర్వాలేదు. It will take time, Mataji. It will take a lot of time. So don't be hurry that you should learn within 1 week or so. No, it will not come like that, Mataji. Daily, slowly, steadily. We have lifetime, Mataji. You have at least 30 or 40 years, no? At least.
Hoping to never know.
Yeah. So you have 30 years, Mataji. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji. Who else is there? Akinjan Prabhu. Akinjan Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
One second. Yeah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Vrishabhani Daitaya Kripabdahe Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Jayine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojjwal Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Stu Gauravani Shri. One second, probably some message is coming. Yeah. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Pasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchitanandanamine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Giraj Prabhu.
Shall I do, Prabhu, meanwhile? All right.
Yes, Prabhu. You can go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Namo
Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojjwala Premadhyam Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodhaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate. Thank you, Prabhu. I have one question, Prabhu. Ikkada mana Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Pranatilo Shri Varshabhanavi Devi ante Is it meaning like he's a devotee of Radharani Prabhu or Varshabhanavi Devi? Who is
No. He was called as a Varshabhanavi. That is his other name.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank
He
you.
was also called as Varshabhanavi. Here we are spelling it as Devi, but it is Deve actually. Okay. Sri Varshabhanavi Devi. That is how actually it is one. Okay. But it has become V. That's it.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Giraj Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, let me do. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Is Lavanya did? Hare Krishna?
Yeah,
No, she is becoming so humble.
You do it. After you,
Yeah.
done. I'll do.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshchaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shrivashabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadya Shrirupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vikralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate. Yeah,
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Let me know. Yeah.
Giraj Prabhu.
Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Pranadi. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Srimurtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Shila Gaura Kishora Das Prabhu Maharaj Pranati Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambhara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha Shila Bhakti Thakur Pranati Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate. Yes. Yeah. Andar అయిపోయిందా bro? Kinchen Prabhu done?
Yes, Prabhu. Everyone done.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for everyone. Prabhu, you can lead the call now. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining today. Chanting, reading, and sloka recitations. We'll connect tomorrow. Samyukta, thank you so much. Prabhu, thank you so much. Lavanya, thank you so much. Akincham Priya Prabhu, thank you so much. Sandhya Mataji, thank you so much. Radhika Mataji, thank you so much. Vani Mataji, thank you so much. Deepa Mataji, thank you so much. Gaurav Prabhu, thank you so much. Raju Prabhu, thank you so much. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanibhu Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Translation Book Reading ki jai. Nitai Gaur Hari Premanande. Hari Hari. Thank you so much.